Part 1, A Chance Encounter at the Cosmic Tavern. Heading, The Meeting of Two Worlds. In the heart of the bustling interstellar hub known as Nova Prime, where the skies were painted with the glow of 3 moons, the Cosmic Tavern stood as a beacon for travelers from across the galaxy. The tavern was a melting pot of cultures, species, and stories, where the air was thick with the scent of exotic spices and the hum of alien languages. It was here, amidst the clinking of glasses and the soft hum of a holographic band, that fate decided to weave its threads. Leora, a Zephyrian diplomat with skin that shimmered like the surface of a tranquil lake under moonlight, sat at the bar. Her opalescent eyes scanned the room, taking in the myriad of species that filled the space. She was on Nova Prime for a diplomatic mission, representing her people in talks with the Galactic Council. But tonight, she sought a reprieve from the weight of her responsibilities, a moment to simply exist among the stars. Across the room, Kale, a human explorer and xenobiologist, nursed a drink while reviewing his notes. His rugged features and curious eyes spoke of countless adventures across the galaxy. He had come to Nova Prime to study the unique flora of the nearby nebula, but found himself equally captivated by the diversity of life in the Cosmic Tavern. His gaze wandered, eventually landing on Leora. There was something about her that drew him in, an otherworldly beauty that seemed to radiate from within. With a deep breath, Kale approached her. "Excuse me," he began, his voice steady despite the flutter in his chest. "I couldn't help but notice you. I'm Kale, a xenobiologist from Earth. Would you mind if I joined you?" Leora looked up, her eyes shifting through a spectrum of colors as she processed his presence. Curiosity won over caution, and she gestured to the empty seat beside her. "I am Leora of Zephyria," she replied, her voice melodic and soothing. "Please, sit. I would be interested in learning more about your world." As Kale took his seat, he couldn't help but marvel at the way Leora's skin seemed to ripple with colors in response to her emotions. It was like watching the aurora borealis dance across the night sky. "Zephyria," he mused. "I've heard whispers about your world, but it's shrouded in mystery. What brings you so far from home?" Leora's colors shifted to a soft blue, indicating a mix of nostalgia and pride. "I am here as a diplomatic envoy. My people have long observed the galaxy from afar, but recent events have prompted us to reach out. We believe we have much to offer and learn from other species." Kale nodded, fascinated. "That's incredible. I've dedicated my life to studying different species and their environments. The diversity of life in our galaxy never ceases to amaze me." As they talked, Leora found herself drawn to Kale's passion and knowledge. His eyes lit up as he spoke about his discoveries, and she felt a strange flutter in her chest, an unfamiliar sensation that both thrilled and confused her. "Tell me, Kale," she said, leaning in slightly, "what is it about Earth that you miss when you're out here among the stars?" Kale's expression softened, a hint of nostalgia creeping into his voice. "The simple things, mostly. The feel of grass under my feet, the sound of waves crashing on a beach, the smell of rain on a hot summer day. But mostly, I miss the sense of home and belonging." Leora's colors shifted to a warm golden hue, reflecting her empathy. "I understand. Zephyria is beautiful. Our cities float among the clouds, and our forests sing with bioluminescent life. But being here, experiencing new worlds and cultures, it's exhilarating." As the night wore on, Leora and Kale found themselves lost in conversation. They shared stories of their respective worlds, laughed at cultural misunderstandings, and marveled at the similarities they discovered despite their vastly different origins. Kale was captivated by Leora's description of Zephyrian art, living sculptures that changed form and color in response to the emotions of those around them. In turn, Leora was fascinated by Kale's tales of Earth's diverse ecosystems and the resilience of its inhabitants. As the Cosmic Tavern began to empty, they realized how much time had passed. Kale glanced at his chronometer, surprised to see several hours had slipped by unnoticed. "I can't believe how late it's gotten," he said, a note of reluctance in his voice. "I've really enjoyed talking with you, Leora. Would you like to continue our cultural exchange? Perhaps I could show you around Nova Prime tomorrow?" Part 2, Exploring Nova Prime Together. Heading, A Day of Discovery. The next morning, the sun rose over Nova Prime, casting a golden hue over the bustling streets. Leora and Kale met at the Starflower Plaza, a vibrant hub filled with shops and eateries from all corners of the galaxy. The air was fragrant with spices and sweet treats, and colorful stalls displayed an array of goods, from shimmering fabrics to intricate gadgets. As they walked side by side, Leora felt an undeniable connection growing between them. Their hands brushed occasionally, sending delightful shivers down her spine. She found herself stealing glances at Kale, captivated by his enthusiasm and charm. At a pastry stall, they were greeted by a jovial vendor who offered them a selection of colorful treats. Kale picked up a bright blue pastry filled with sweet cream and handed it to Leora. "Try this one," he said. "It's called a Nebula Delight." Leora took a tentative bite, her eyes widening in surprise as the flavors burst in her mouth. "It's amazing," she exclaimed, savoring the sweetness. Kale laughed, clearly pleased with her reaction. "I'm glad you like it. Earth has so many unique flavors. I can't wait to share more with you." As they indulged in their pastries, they wandered through the plaza, stopping at various stalls that caught their interest. Leora admired a display of intricate jewelry made from crystals found on different planets, while Kale shared stories about each piece's origin. "Every piece has a story," he explained passionately. "Like this one, it's made from crystals harvested from the caves of Zenra. They say the crystals can amplify emotions." Leora touched one of the necklaces delicately, feeling its cool surface against her skin. "It's beautiful," she said softly. "I love how art can carry such meaning." Their conversation flowed effortlessly as they continued exploring the plaza. They discussed their cultures, their dreams, and their experiences growing up in vastly different worlds. Leora shared tales of Zephiria's floating cities and bioluminescent forests, while Kale spoke about Earth's diverse landscapes and rich history. "I've always wanted to visit Zephyria," Kale said thoughtfully. "Your world sounds like a dream." Leora smiled shyly. "And I'd love to see Earth through your eyes. There is so much we can learn from each other." As they moved deeper into the plaza, they stumbled upon an open-air art exhibit showcasing works from various species across the galaxy. The vibrant colors and unique styles captivated them both. "Look at that one," Kale pointed excitedly at a painting that depicted a cosmic landscape filled with swirling galaxies and starlit skies. "It's mesmerizing." Leora agreed, her eyes sparkling with wonder. Art truly transcends boundaries. They spent hours wandering through the exhibit, discussing each piece and what it represented. With every shared laugh and thoughtful conversation, their bond deepened further. After leaving the exhibit, they decided to take a break at a nearby cafe that overlooked the plaza. As they settled into their seats with steaming cups of aromatic beverages, Leora opting for a herbal blend while Kale chose rich coffee, they continued their conversation. "I've been thinking," Kale said suddenly, his expression serious yet hopeful. "What if we could work together on something? Maybe create an art project that combines our cultures?" Leora's eyes widened in surprise at his suggestion. "That sounds incredible. We could showcase our world's beauty and promote understanding between our species." Kale nodded enthusiastically. "Exactly. We could invite artists from both Earth and Zephyria to collaborate on pieces that reflect our shared experiences." "I love it," Leora exclaimed, feeling inspired by the idea. "We could hold workshops where we teach each other our techniques and styles." As they brainstormed ideas for their project, Leora felt an overwhelming sense of joy wash over her. This was more than just an artistic endeavor, it was a chance to bridge their worlds in a meaningful way. After finishing their drinks, they walked back into the plaza, hand in hand, excitement radiating between them as they discussed logistics for their collaboration. However, as they turned down one of the quieter streets leading away from the main square, Leora noticed something unsettling in Kale's demeanor. His expression shifted from excitement to concern as he glanced toward a group of individuals standing at the end of the alleyway. "What's wrong?" Leora asked instinctively. Part 3, The Intergalactic Summit. Heading, A Test of Unity. As the sun rose over the bustling spaceport, Leora and Kale found themselves facing new challenges. Their budding relationship had caught the attention of both humans and aliens, sparking curiosity and controversy. The couple walked hand in hand through the crowded streets, acutely aware of the stares and whispers that followed them. Leora's skin shimmered with a mix of excitement and anxiety as they approached the Intergalactic Cultural Center. Today, they were scheduled to give a presentation on the benefits of human-alien cooperation. As they entered the building, Kale squeezed Leora's hand reassuringly. "Ready for this?" he asked, his eyes twinkling with determination. Leora nodded, her bioluminescent eyes glowing softly. "As ready as I'll ever be." The auditorium was packed with a diverse audience of humans and various alien species. As Leora and Kale took the stage, a hush fell over the crowd. Kale cleared his throat and began their presentation. "Ladies, gentlemen, and esteemed beings of all species," he started, his voice clear and confident. "We're here today to talk about the incredible potential that lies in cooperation between humans and aliens." Leora stepped forward, her silvery skin catching the light. "Our two species have so much to offer each other. Through collaboration, we can achieve things neither of us could alone." As they spoke, sharing stories of successful joint ventures and technological advancements, the audience listened intently. Some nodded in agreement, while others frowned skeptically. Leora and Kale could feel the tension in the room, but they pressed on, their passion evident in every word. Suddenly, a voice rang out from the back of the auditorium. "This is nonsense. Humans and aliens can't coexist peacefully. It's against nature." The crowd murmured, and Leora felt her heart race. Kale, however, remained calm. He addressed the heckler directly. "Sir, I understand your concerns. Change can be frightening. But history has shown us time and time again that progress comes from embracing diversity, not fearing it." As the presentation continued, more voices joined the discussion. Some shared positive experiences of human-alien interactions, while others expressed their doubts and fears. Leora and Kale fielded questions with patience and understanding, their unity in the face of adversity only strengthening their bond. After the presentation, as they left the cultural center, Leora and Kale were approached by a group of young humans and aliens. Their eyes shone with admiration and hope. "Your story is so inspiring," one young alien said, her tentacles waving excitedly. "We want to help promote understanding between our species. How can we get involved?" Kale grinned, his heart swelling with pride. "That's fantastic. We're actually starting a youth ambassador program. Why don't you all come to our next meeting?" As the group chatted enthusiastically, Leora felt a surge of hope. Despite the challenges they faced, moments like these made it all worthwhile. Later that evening, Leora and Kale sat in a quiet corner of their favorite cafe, discussing the day's events. The soft glow of alien bioluminescent plants cast a warm light over their table. "I think we made a real impact today," Kale said, sipping his coffee. "Did you see how engaged those young people were?" Part 4, The Journey to Zephyria. Heading, A Test of Love and Loyalty. The day of departure arrived, and the air was thick with anticipation. Leora and Kale stood on the docking bay of Nova Prime, their bags packed and hearts heavy with the weight of the journey ahead. The Zephyrian Council had summoned Leora back to her home planet, and Kale had insisted on accompanying her. Their relationship, once a private bond, had now become a symbol of hope and controversy across the galaxy. As they boarded the sleek, silver spacecraft that would take them to Zephyria, Leora couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. Her skin shimmered with hues of blue and gold, reflecting her anxiety and determination. Kale, ever the steady presence, placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We're in this together," he said softly. "No matter what happens, we'll face it side by side." The journey to Zephyria was a long one, spanning several light years. As the ship hurtled through the vast expanse of space, Leora and Kale spent their time preparing for the meeting with the Council. They rehearsed their arguments, reviewed their data, and even practiced speaking in the formal Zephyrian dialect. Kale, though unfamiliar with the language, was determined to make a good impression. During the quieter moments, they found solace in each other's company. Leora shared stories of her childhood on Zephyria, of floating cities that glowed like fireflies at night, and forests that sang with bioluminescent life. Kale, in turn, spoke of Earth's vast oceans and towering mountains, and the resilience of its people. Their conversations were a reminder of why they were fighting for this cause, to bridge the gap between their worlds and create a future where love and understanding could thrive. As the ship approached Zephyria, Leora's heart raced with a mix of excitement and dread. The planet came into view, a breathtaking sight of swirling clouds and shimmering lights. The floating cities of Zephyria were unlike anything Kale had ever seen. "It's beautiful," he whispered, his eyes wide with wonder. Leora smiled, her skin glowing with pride. "Welcome to my home." The ship descended through the atmosphere, landing gracefully on one of the floating platforms that served as a docking station. As they stepped off the ship, they were greeted by a delegation of Zephyrian officials. Their expressions were stern, and Leora could sense the tension in the air. "Ambassador Leora," one of the officials said, bowing slightly. "The Council awaits your arrival." Leora nodded, her skin shifting to a calm, neutral tone. "Thank you. This is Kale, my companion from Earth. He will be joining me for the meeting." The officials exchanged glances but said nothing. They led Leora and Kale through the winding streets of the floating city, towards the Grand Council chamber. The city was a marvel of engineering and artistry, with buildings that seemed to defy gravity and streets that glowed with soft, pulsating light. Kale couldn't help but marvel at the beauty of it all, but he also noticed the curious stares of the Zephyrians they passed. Whispers followed them, and Kale could feel the weight of their judgment. As they entered the council chamber, Leora took a deep breath, her skin shimmering with determination. The chamber was a vast, circular room with a domed ceiling that displayed a holographic representation of the galaxy. The council members sat in a semicircle, their expressions unreadable. At the center of the room stood a tall, imposing figure, the High Counselor of Zephyria.